The Southern African Institute of Government Auditors aims to turn around dysfunctional municipalities and for the government officials to account for their shortcomings. Zondo says the public sector is starved of law-abiding professionals who cannot be bribed. He says society has made it a norm to celebrate criminals who are abusing state resources for their own benefit.
As society, are we frowning enough on corruption? We see in government occasions when government appoints people who have allegations of corruption and fraud hanging over their heads. And the question is, what message does that send about the fight against corruption? It sends the message that as far as government is concerned, there is no problem if you've got corruption allegations or charges against you. You can get a good job. You can be a minister while all those allegations over you.
Zondo says state-owned entities like SAIGA and the Post Office experienced severe financial difficulties because government did not act fast enough when the Auditor General raised red flags in its findings. Government's failure to act timelessly continues to put severe strain on the economy.
SAIGA comes from liquidation. It didn't just go into liquidation in 1 year. It was a process that happened over years, but nothing was done despite the fact that the Auditor General would have raised issues. And when SAIGA went into liquidation, you would have thought that government would say, quickly, let's look at other SOEs. We don't want another SOE going the same route. But with government, nothing like that happened. And what happened? Denel followed. Then we had Denel was also in liquidation. Of course, we know about the Post Office now. If you were running a business and you had a number of companies, and there was one that seemed to be going down, would you not automatically look at your other companies and say, I don't want what is happening to this company to also happen in the other companies, and therefore take preventative measures? That's what you would do. So why doesn't government do that?
Zondo says state capture is a perfect example of the work that still needs to be done in order to fight the scourge of corruption. He warned that lack of mechanism to fight corruption in the public sector could see the return of state capture.
Parliament, as things stand, is unlikely to prevent state capture if it were to happen the way it happened in respect of the cultures. You may ask me the question, what about the fact that the ANC is no longer majority party, because what prevented Parliament from stopping state capture was because the ANC, being in the majority, rejected motions for investigations or public hearings to be undertaken by a committee of Parliament into allegations that there was this family that was exercising undue influence over the head of state. But also it was the majority party that stood in the way of a motion of no confidence against the president at the time. Because if that motion of no confidence, and there were many of them, or if one of them had succeeded, the Gupta state capture would have stopped. But the majority party prevented that because their stance remained that they would not allow their own leader, who was president of the country, to be removed on the basis of or at the instance of opposition parties.
Zondo says corruption is destroying the economic landscape of this country and pushing away investors. Nomtsikelelo Mtshabela, SABC News, Johannesburg.